could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You could have all you ever wanted, shoot the moon and reach for Mars. You know you could. Yeah, and times are changing everywhere. Do we dream and do we dare? It's up to you, the door is open wide. Feel the rhythm of today, learn the part and join the play. The world is here, let's take it for a ride. You could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You could have all you ever wanted, shoot the moon and reach for Mars. You know you could. Larger, larger than, bigger, bigger than, living hopes and dreams. Every boy and girl, higher, higher than, brighter, brighter than, all you wanted. You know, you could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You can have all you ever wanted. Hopes and dreams, every boy. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You could have all you ever wanted. You know you could.
Good morning. Welcome back to the channel, Grand Columbia, and welcome to another Coffee Time Live. In today's weather is overcast, but blue sky. It's been cool the last few days, in the low 70s for the most part. Right now, it's, I think, 73 degrees. Nice breeze. Perfect weather for me. Some people say, oh, it's too cold. I don't know how you figure that's too cold, but to each their own. I think the planet was designed so that whatever you love, you'll find a place that has it. Today will be a short day. I've got a friend flying in I hadn't seen in a couple years. So I'm going to seriously try to make this about a half an hour because of that. I didn't decide to do a specific topic and talk for half an hour on it. I've just got some articles about Colombia, basically the news section, and questions and whatever. But when we get to about a half an hour, 40 minutes in, I'm going to have to wrap it up because I won't have a whole lot of time to get where I got to go. So, let's see. First of all, Yuka, thank you very much. Greetings from Finland. Greetings from Armenia, Quindio, Colombia. Rob, good morning from Fort Lauderdale. How you doing? Mike Jarvis, howdy. I'm surprised at some of the questions I've been getting about Mike making a move. People, and Rob was one of them, but Rob, you weren't the only one, wanting to know, it's like, you found the perfect place. The difficult thing is not finding the perfect place. You got to go out of your way. I mean, it's hard to find a bad place to live around here. Mr. Sawicki, Buenos de Seattle. Okay. It's Coleman. Hello from Seattle. Bouncing around again. Gertle, how you doing? Aloha. Mike Carroll. It's not because of Washington Buffalo game at 1. No, I'm going to miss it. which kind of sucks. I mean, I won't watch the whole game later. I'll just NFL puts out these 10-15 minute highlights, and I'll have to watch that. But good point. But no, that's not it. Gentleman X, shout out from Fort Worth. Gentleman X, new name or new viewer, one or the other. I got a message, and I thought it might be cool to do this every week. So if you want to send me a minute or less clip, a video clip, and I'll show you an example, I'd be happy to post it up. Just make sure you send it to me like with at least a few hours to go. Bill Beebe, I might have a place if anyone's looking for one. I'm heading to Armenia in November for my first time in Colombia. I'm going to run the apartment ad again. I forgot last week. And I'm going to talk about the coffee meeting. But first, here's a clip I got this morning.
Good morning to Armenia, Colombia from Hollywood, Florida. Absolutely fantastic day out here today. Actually, when I woke up this morning, it was only 77 degrees, which is really strange for here because normally it's in the mid 80s at night, and 95 during the day. But what a day. Oh man. All right, I will be very awake and alive for Coffee Time Live very soon.
Man, 90s. No, thank you. You don't want to complain about it getting hot here. We're in the mid 80s because of this. Well, it hasn't been actually in a number of days, but we broke some records this year, and it's been more warm than not recently. And I complain a little bit about it, but you got to think about all those poor schmucks that have been getting 100 degrees all summer. Okay, Gentleman X, I'm headed to Armenia in November for my first time in Colombia. All right, let me, well, first I want to talk about the coffee meeting. I didn't run the little promo last week. It turns out I've actually been to every one. And Mark, who set this up, stopped coming after the second one. But I have to admit, they've been fun. And I'm able to work around certain things. Like once a month, I have a bank run. So I made it after the coffee meeting this last week. Every week, you got to go to the supermarket. So I'll probably go this Wednesday. I'm surprised at how much interesting information every time I go, I've been picking up. And every time people show up, not a lot. There's been as few as 4 of us, 5, 6, 8. The most was the first time. I think there was 14, maybe more. That was a lot, but anything to 4, 5, 6, I'm really comfortable with, and I'll probably keep going. So that's pretty cool. So let me show you my little advertisement for the coffee meeting. Yeah, I'm just surprised that I actually have been finding them fun, and mostly pretty interesting things, and not necessarily all about Colombia. Of course, we sit there and solve the world's problems. Mike, Pueblo Tapao is an awesome place to live. Just found myself in Armenia as much as home. Yeah, he wrote out, and Mike, I passed that along to Robert, those 2 messages you sent. And let me show you the apartment that's available to rent out for I don't know, days, weeks, months, because they're going out of town again. It's their personal apartment. It's not an Airbnb, but let me show you. You know, that apartment overlooked a couple places I lived. You walked out on the balcony and looked straight ahead and down. That's the last house I was living in. And then if you look over to your right, that last clip showed it, over to your right, you see the building that I lived in prior to that. My favorite place I have lived so far. And since I moved to Colombia, I've lived in 5 different places. One for 2 years. Okay, let's see. We got some news things. Now, if you're here in Armenia today, if you're living here, if you're visiting, pay attention to this. Headline, today being the 24th, at the Parque de la Vida, they've got this big food thing going on. This is an annual event. It's for foodies. There's classes in there about cuisine from around the world, but it's focusing, from what I understand, on typical foods here, but really upping their game. And that's certainly a welcome thing. Here's one of the internet brochures on it. It's I don't know how late it runs today. It might be ending 6, 7 o'clock. I'm not sure, but it definitely is on this afternoon, and you won't be seeing it for another year. So if you have a chance, get yourself over there. Maybe find a couple snacky cakes to munch on, kick back with a beer, and watch people walk by. Beautiful park. Okay. Couple things on the hospital. Now, there's 2 main public hospitals in Armenia. One's in the south, one's in the north. And the one in the north, the last couple of years, they've spent a lot of money in fixing the road in front, changing the way you would get to it. It used to be kind of chaotic. There was this big building in the middle of the road. You got this underground pathway to go to get over to the hospital, and so they spent quite a bit of time reworking all of that. And the news article on it is that well, you can read it yourself, but there's new services that are going to be going on, which equate to some new equipment. But here's the interesting thing about that hospital in the north. They're building a brand new one in a great place. If, let's see, if you're going up Centenario and you want to turn left to go over to the convention center, before you turn left, if you look to your right, you'll see this building on the diagonal. Multi-story, really big place. It's obviously not apartments. That's the new hospital. And it's confusing to me, because they usually tend to be pretty efficient, that they've been putting money in the infrastructure of the old hospital when they're building a new one. It almost leads me to believe maybe there'll be a third one, which I don't think is really necessary. They could work on efficiencies maybe, but having a third one, I don't know, because people that are insured, like I would never really go to that hospital, either one. I would go to what they call a clinic, but they're actually insurance company hospitals. And they're all over the place, and they're really well equipped. So, and you don't end up standing in long lines, and they're kind of pleasant as much as it can be. So I'm a little confused. I'll let you know when I find out for sure what's going on. But I do know that they're going to be opening up a new hospital on Centenario. Now, related to it is, I debated whether I'd even put this up, but they're complaining about a medicine shortage. Except there really isn't a medicine shortage, and it's at that hospital. Their difficulty is getting their hands on oxytocin, which they use for pregnant women after they're pregnant, after they give birth, which I'd never heard of before. For a healing purpose, something I just never didn't know anything about it. But they're having a problem getting their hands on that. And so I did some digging, find out why. Is there a shortage? I mean, this stuff is all over the U.S., out on the street. And geez, I wonder if that's why. But what I found out is a story I did last week about how the government has been slow walking some of the payments to the medical services, repayments. Well, this hospital is still behind in payments. And so they actually cleared it up this week, but they had to step forward and pay the government's bill to make sure that the patients are getting, everything that they need. So that whole thing is baffling to me, because it's not that the government doesn't have the money. They do. The healthcare system here doesn't run in the red. It runs in the black. It's just that they've not been making payments. They've just been sitting on the money. So I don't know what that's about. If anybody does, if you know about it, let me know. I've got a nurse friend that works actually in that North Hospital, and she's usually in on the grapevine of that stuff. And I had sent a message out, but I hadn't heard back from her. So if I find out, I'll let you know. This is a nice headline. El Quindio continues to be a safe tourist destination for its visitors. There was a survey done, wrong button, by the National Police and a couple other groups to make sure, because this is such a highly visited tourist destination for Colombians and for outlanders. So they want to make sure that there's no problem. And they go through this. They do these evaluations every few months. They did actually one in Armenia recently. Rufus, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Caught my eye. Coffee time viewer, but first time joining live. Yeah, if you haven't joined live, please feel free. There's no restriction to it, but you'll find that once you put a message up, you won't be able to post another one for about 30 seconds. So, if you're trying, it feels like forever, and you might think the chat's not working. It is working, but there is a 30-second delay from one message to the next. And it's because we had some spammers a month or two ago, and I was forced to do that. So it'll go through. It'll just be a delay. Okay. What was I talking about? Oh, the safe. So what their review, it looks at a number of things, but the one thing that was key to my interest is you have these groups, and generally you have the ELN, which runs on the north border of Venezuela in a section of that border area. And then you've got the FARC, which runs south of Cali and kind of in the wilderness. If you go west of Pasto, for example, over to over to the water and then down to the border of Ecuador in that kind of somewhat populated, but it's pretty sparse area. You've got FARC, and they say, well, you know, they peace agreement, they broke up. All right, well, all they did was say, well, don't call us FARC anymore, but we're still here. We still have guns. We're still in the same area. Mark, thank you. Thank you very much. Very much appreciated. That'll cover my taxi today. The airport, it's gotten up to, well, from where I am now, it's about 40,000 each way. Wasn't that long ago, it was 20. Anyway, they determined that there is none of these groups located in Quindio. And when I lived here 20 years ago, the FARC was in Quindio. It was quite dangerous. You know, if you went out on some of the backcountry roads, you know, if you were a gringo, you very well could have gotten kidnapped. And, you know, it was back in the day when they were making the movies, and there was truth to it back then. Well, there's not really truth to it now unless you go to areas where nobody goes anyway. They don't venture into areas like this, but it was good to know. And it wasn't just them. There's no cartel organizations here, and the only crime organizations are like three guys that get together and plot out a cell phone robbery. You know, it's like, you know, it's not like really a gang. Although they did bust a couple. One had 12 people. I think the other one had 10 sometime this year that had put themselves together and got themselves a tattoo, and they were going to, you know, they're going to be the big gangs. And didn't work out well for them. They didn't last very long, and they got nabbed. And here they have an interesting thing. They do photographs of whether it's one criminal or if it's a number of them like that. They'll have a cop on one side, cop on the other, facing the camera. They'll have the big backdrop of whatever police organization it is. And then the criminals will stand with their back turned towards the camera. And you know, so you'll always get a picture of that. All right, another article that you might find ridiculous. I found it kind of interesting because it plays into, you know, how's the economy there, which I'm hearing all the time. This was very unusual. The vehicle tax is due. More than 38,000 vehicles in Quindio have not paid the vehicle tax. There's always a few. This is highly unusual. There's only about, I think about 80,000 cars registered in Armenia. They have 38,000. I mean, that's a massive amount. And the only reason things like that happen, because, you know, they're subjecting themselves to penalty, and if you're driving without it, I mean, you can get into some trouble, even potentially having your vehicle towed. It's similar in some ways to the U.S. when it comes to that. I think the fine is 3 times the minimum salary, so that's a pretty significant fine. And the only reason people would do that is if they're having extreme financial difficulties. They just wouldn't do it on their own. So that's why I mention it. People are struggling here, and it doesn't seem to get better. The inflation rate, it's considerably less. Well, we'll say it's slowed, because you're always going to have some kind of inflation rate. And so when it goes up high and those prices spike up, when that inflation rate drops down, when it slows, those prices don't come down. They're still up there because, you know, you got your increase. And then when we say drop, it's really a misnomer. All it does is kind of level off. You know, it just doesn't go up as steep. It just kind of you know, maybe a percent or two. Well, we're more than that. So it keeps increasing. We just had a rapid increase. And even when inflation slows to what it is now, that increase is still there. It's still built in, and it's still going up, just not as quickly. So it seems like a lot of people misunderstand that because they get this idea, well, inflation's drop, everything's going to be fine. We're going to go back to where we were. No, you will never go back to where you were. That's one of the problems with inflation. And so it's definitely having its effect here. All right. Just a couple more. Feel free, if you got questions, go ahead and ask them. What time is it? We got another 10 minutes or so. Some more good news. It's about a 10-minute, or a 1 minute, sorry, a 1 minute clip. Beauty pageants are a big thing here. And you got pageants, you got your Miss Coffee, you've got Plantain, you've got the Jeep, Japao. You have beauty contestants for everything. And having one for Armenia is no different. And what happens is each area, which for these things, they don't call it by the barrio, they just Comuna 1, Comuna 2, like that. And it'll include parts of different barrios. And there's 9, I believe, in Armenia. And right now, they've put together their slate of contestants. And out of it, there'll be a pageant coming up soon. And there will be a Miss Armenia, which will go on to compete with Quindio and then and for Colombia. So let me show you what's going on. There's a couple here that I would definitely vote for. Oh my goodness. In general, what is a vehicle tax per year? Well, it's all over there's a spectrum. You know, it depends a lot on what you drive, how old the car is, the configuration of the car. $100 and up, maybe somewhere around there. What happened, Rob? Message retracted. Oh, he hit send before he was done with the message. Okay. Last thing I have today, and if you got questions, we'll go on for a little bit more. But the last thing I have for today is, you guys know that watch on a regular basis, I don't talk politics on here. It's about Colombia. It's about my life in Colombia, things that interest me. That's mostly what it is. But today, I'm going to talk about my politics. And rather than talk about my politics, I'm going to show you a quick clip that will express my views in a really clear way about my politics.
In the heart of our nation's capital, a new team is stepping up to lead. Josh Allen and Stefan Diggs, your dynamic duo for a brighter future. They know the challenges we face, and they're ready to tackle them head on. For too long, Washington has left us wanting more.
And we know this about Eric Bieniemy. He is not afraid of the Buffalo Bills. He's not afraid to hang 30 on them. He's done it before.
It's time for Buffalo to take command. Josh and Steph have a playbook for change. Together, they're always a winning combination. And they have a cabinet of proven leaders. Secretary of Education, Gabe Davis. Secretary of Energy, Dion Dawkins. And Secretary of Defense, Matt Milano, who will ensure the nation's security is as strong as his biceps. With an election year upon us, there's only two names you need to remember: Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. Paid for by Friends of Allen for America.
So, for those who wondered, now you know. It's the only team from New York. You know, the Giants and the Jets are actually from New Jersey, and their stadium is in New Jersey. I have no idea why they call themselves New York Jets and New York Giants. It's sacrilegious. But the red, white, and blue team out of New York, there's only one, and that's the Buffalo Bills. I'm packing my suitcases, heading to Armenia after I saw that clip. Yeah, there's, I got two favorites there. Okay, and they varied a lot, so, you know, no matter your taste, Mike Carroll makes you want to go out and vote. Yeah, I wish, you know, that was about today's game you saw in a couple of the clips, and I'm not going to get to see it. At least I won't get to see it live, so I'm a little depressed because, well, I'm not depressed. I'm actually excited because I haven't seen somebody in a couple of years, so I'm excited about that. But the Washington team, who had been horrible for years, from what I understand, they have one of the best defenses. You know, they're supposed to be crazy good. So I'm guessing this won't be a walk in the park. They may not be able to win. Who knows? But that's why they play the game. I root for all teams playing against Washington except Dallas. Yeah, everybody's jumping back on the Dallas bandwagon. All you Dallas fans were pretty quiet the last decade. But, you know, there I was with the Bills. If you watch me for a while, you know that. When they get creamed, you know, we went forever having horrible teams. You know, when Jim Kelly retired and everybody goes their own way. And, you know, my motto was, there's always next year. Okay, any questions? I mean, you guys don't turn in to hear my politics on football, I'm sure. It has really good front seven and good secondary, top 10 defense for sure. Yeah, I heard something that said that their stats, of course, it's only over the course of 2 games, so it doesn't really have a whole lot of meaning. But they're like number 1 or 2 in defense. But I don't know, the Bills are no slouch either. I think people are going to figure out that they're greatly improved. Your choice of politicians sound absolutely incompetent, which would be a great improvement over our present politicians. Well, you know, that's what I figure. You know, it's like if they did nothing but go out on Sunday and play the game, it's a massive improvement because they're not going to go out and screw things up. All right. How are we for time? Yeah, we kind of run our course. Last call for any questions, and I apologize if you were looking for the full hour today, but, you know, I thought about calling this off, but it's, yeah, I don't want to do that. You don't want me to do that. And so here we are. Last call. Going. Got that streaming delay, so I have to remind myself sometimes. All right. So we're gonna end it here. Thank you all. Thank you for Mark, Rufus, Juka. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I'll be back next Sunday. We'll do the full time. Don't forget about the food thing today at Parque de la Vida. If you're in town, you definitely want to go. Any way you could possibly do it, get over there. And next Wednesday, coffee meeting. I plan to be there this next Wednesday. So, try to make it. And with that, go Bills. See you guys later.